Elena Carter walked quickly through the school hallway, her head down as usual. She had just finished her chemistry test and wanted to avoid the noisy crowd near the lunchroom. Her old sneakers made soft sounds against the floor as she turned the corner to the restroom. That's when she heard it. Laughter. Loud, mocking laughter coming from a group of students inside. She paused, her stomach tightening. Then she heard one of them say, "That janitor smells like the bathroom he cleans. I bet his own family is ashamed of him." Another voice joined in. "He's probably homeless. You see how he wears the same boots every day?" Elena peeked into the restroom, just for a second, and what she saw made her freeze. The man holding a mop, wearing a dark blue janitor uniform, was her father. Her heart stopped. She couldn't move, couldn't breathe. Her father, here, cleaning toilets. She hadn't seen him in over 5 years. Her mother always said he walked out on them and never came back, that he didn't care, that he left them to suffer. She had cried so many nights wondering why he never called, never came for her birthdays, never showed up at school like the other dads. And now, here he was, just a few feet away, quiet, tired, cleaning the restroom while kids laughed at him. She didn't know what to do. Her hands shook. A part of her wanted to run to him. Another part wanted to disappear. He didn't see her. He kept scrubbing the floor, eyes down, face calm, like he didn't hear the things they said. Eleanor turned around and walked away, fast, her vision blurred with tears. She rushed to an empty stairwell and sat down, hugging her knees. Her chest hurt. She didn't understand. Why hadn't he told her? Why was he working here? Why now? Questions raced through her mind. But one thing was clear. Everything she thought she knew about her father had just changed, and she didn't know what to feel. Jason Taylor used to be the kind of boy who smiled easily. He laughed at dumb jokes, stayed up late watching movies with his dad, and loved playing chess even though he usually lost. He didn't care about winning. He just liked spending time with his father. That was before everything changed. His father, Mark Taylor, was everything to him. A strong, kind man who worked as a high school teacher and always made time for his family. Every Saturday, they'd go fishing at the old lake on the edge of town. They didn't even catch much. It wasn't about that. It was about the quiet moments, the way Mark always listened when Jason spoke, and the way his eyes would light up when Jason figured something out on the chessboard. But Mark got sick. He had cancer, and he kept it a secret. Danielle, Jason's mum, knew, but they agreed not to tell Jason. Mark didn't want his last months to be filled with worry. He wanted to be dad until the very end, not a dying man. So they lived normally, at least on the outside. But now, looking back, Jason could see the signs. The long naps, the way Mark held his chest after mowing the lawn, the way his smile sometimes faded too quickly. When Mark finally passed, it was like the air had been sucked out of the house. Jason tried to be strong. People kept telling him, "Your dad would want you to be brave," but he didn't want to be brave. He wanted his dad. Danielle, his mother, didn't know how to handle the grief either. She stopped cooking, stopped talking. She went back to work as a hospital administrator, throwing herself into her job like it was the only thing keeping her standing. When Jason needed to talk, she just said she was tired, or working, or that he should talk to someone else. Jason never did. He stopped trying. Now, months later, their house felt like a museum. Everything was still there. Mark's tool, his chessboard, his favorite coffee mug, but the warmth was gone. Danielle rarely went into the living room. Jason spent most of his time in his room, headphones on, zoning out with music or scrolling through old texts from his dad. At school, Jason had become quiet. His best friend, Caleb, still tried to check in, but Jason usually shrugged him off. He didn't want to talk about feelings. He didn't want pity. So, he pretended he was fine, but he wasn't. The only person who seemed to be stepping in lately was Uncle Brian, Mark's older brother. Brian hadn't been around much growing up. He lived in another state, worked in finance, and only came by for holidays. But after the funeral, Brian started showing up more often. He brought food, helped fix things around the house, even offered to take Jason out to eat sometimes. At first, Jason appreciated it. He missed having a male figure around, but something about Brian always felt forced, like he was trying too hard, like he had a plan. Danielle didn't like Brian much. She didn't say it out loud, but Jason could tell. Whenever Brian was around, her face got tight, her words short. Once, Jason overheard them arguing in the kitchen. Danielle said something like, "You're only here now because you want something." Brian had laughed, told her she was being paranoid. Jason didn't know what to think. He just wanted things to feel normal again. Lately, Brian had been talking about helping Jason step into manhood. He gave him advice Jason never asked for, told him to stop being so emotional, and even suggested that Danielle was holding him back. Jason didn't like that. No matter how distant his mum had become, she was still his mum. She made sure he had clothes, paid the bills, and even though she was quiet, she never stopped loving him. He could feel it, even when she couldn't show it. But Jason felt stuck between grief, confusion, and this new tension that was growing between his mum and his uncle. School didn't help either. His grades had dropped. Teachers asked if he was okay. He just nodded. What was he supposed to say? That his dad died and nothing made sense anymore. Then came the birthday. 17. A strange age. Too old to be a kid. Not quite an adult. He didn't want to celebrate. But something about that day hit harder than he expected. It was the first birthday without Mark. He hadn't thought it would hurt that much. He sat in that kitchen, cake untouched, candles barely lit, and made that quiet wish to see his dad again. And then the package came. The message from Mark changed everything. Jason wasn't sure what his father had meant in the recording, only that it sounded serious. Something about a truth he didn't share, something important left behind. And now, Jason had to figure out what it was. He couldn't stop thinking about it. Why leave a secret? Why now? Why did his father say only he could unlock it? Jason started thinking back. What did they share that no one else knew? A special joke, a phrase, a memory. His mind raced through old conversations, fishing trips, chess matches, bedtime stories. The next morning, Jason sat on his bed, holding the flash drive in his hand. He had listened to the message 3 times already. His dad's voice made his heart ache, but it also gave him strength. It was like a part of his father was still alive, still watching over him. The words kept echoing in his mind. "I kept a secret, one I wish I told you sooner." What secret? What had his dad been hiding? Jason looked through the rest of the package. It didn't seem like there was anything else inside. But when he checked the flash drive again, he noticed something strange. Alongside the audio file, there was a folder titled, "For Jason, open when you're ready." His fingers hovered over the mouse for a second, then he clicked it. Inside were 3 files, a scanned document, an old photo, and another audio clip. Jason opened the photo first. It was a picture of his dad standing beside a woman Jason didn't recognize. She had kind eyes and a soft smile. She looked a little like him. He felt his stomach twist. He clicked on the scanned document. It was a birth certificate. The name on it said, Jason Emmanuel Carter, not Taylor. He blinked and read it again. Jason Emmanuel Carter. His mum was listed as Danielle Carter. The father's name was blank. Jason stared at it, confused and shaking. Why was his last name different? Why wasn't his dad listed? He opened the second audio clip. It was his dad's voice again, but this time quieter, more serious. Jason, if you're listening to this, you found the files. I wanted to explain everything. The truth is, I'm not your biological father. I met your mum when you were 2 years old. She was scared, young and alone. Your real father left before you were even born. When I met her, you were this little boy with big eyes and a quiet heart. I fell in love with you first, before I fell for your mum. Jason's heart stopped. His ears rang. I adopted you when you were 3. That's when your last name changed. We never told you because we didn't want you to feel different. You were always mine, in every way that mattered. Tears rolled down Jason's face. But there's more. Brian, he knows. He's known for a long time, and I don't trust him. That's why I left everything I had for you and your mum, but made sure Brian couldn't touch any of it. I didn't tell her the full details because I didn't want to cause more pain. But now that I'm gone, Brian might try to twist things. If he starts acting strange, don't believe everything he says. Protect your mum. Protect yourself. Jason couldn't breathe. His world felt like it was spinning. Mark Taylor, his dad, the man who raised him, loved him, wasn't his biological father, but he was still his dad. That much Jason knew. What hurt most was not knowing, not being told. And now, Uncle Brian. What was he hiding? That evening, Jason sat quietly at the dinner table. Danielle had made boxed mac and cheese. She barely looked at him. He cleared his throat. Did you know he left me something? Dad? Her eyes snapped up. What? Jason took a breath. He sent a package. It had his voice and a message. There was a birth certificate. My name was different. Her hand dropped the fork. Oh my God. You knew, Jason said, his voice trembling. She wiped her mouth, pushed her plate away, and put her head in her hands. I was going to tell you. Someday. I didn't know how. Why didn't he ever tell me? She looked up, tears in her eyes. Because he loved you. He didn't want you to feel like less. And I was scared. Scared you'd hate me for the choices I made. Jason felt a sharp pain in his chest. He stood up and walked away, not angry, just numb. He needed air. He walked to the porch and sat on the front step. The night was cool. His phone buzzed. It was a message from Uncle Brian. Need to talk. Important. I'll stop by tomorrow. Just the two of us. Jason stared at the message. His dad's voice echoed in his mind again. If he starts acting strange, don't believe everything he says. Something was wrong. This wasn't just about a secret from the past. Something bigger was coming. And now Jason had to face it. The next morning, Jason didn't go to school. He couldn't focus. He sat in his room with the flash drive, the birth certificate, and the picture spread out on his bed. The woman in the photo kept staring at him with soft eyes, and it made him feel confused, angry, and sad all at once. Who was she? Was she his real mother? Why did his mum never mention her? And Uncle Brian, why did he know all this? Jason didn't want to talk to his mum, but part of him needed answers. He walked downstairs, where Danielle was sitting at the kitchen table drinking coffee. She looked tired, her face pale, and her hands shaking just a little. He sat down. Who's the woman in the picture? She didn't pretend not to know. She closed her eyes and sighed. Her name was Michelle. She gave birth to you, but she wasn't ready to be a mother. She left after a few months. I found out about you through a friend at the hospital. You were in foster care. Jason stared at her. So you adopted me? Danielle nodded. Yes. I couldn't have kids of my own. I knew I could give you a better life. And when I met Mark, he loved you right away. We both did. We became a family. Jason leaned back in his chair, his heart heavy. Why didn't you tell me? We were going to, she said. But once life got busy, we kept putting it off. Then Mark got sick, and everything changed. Jason didn't say anything. He just got up and walked out. He needed space. That afternoon, Uncle Brian showed up. He knocked and let himself in like he owned the place. Danielle frowned when she saw him. I didn't invite you, Brian, she said coldly. I'm here to talk to Jason, he said, alone. Jason walked in from the living room. What do you want? Brian gave him a smile that didn't reach his eyes. Just to help you, kid. Your dad left behind some complicated stuff, things your mum doesn't understand. I thought maybe I could guide you through it. I don't need your help, Jason said. Brian tilted his head. I think you do. You see, your dad wasn't thinking clearly in the end. He made some choices that don't make sense. Jason crossed his arms. Like what? Brian walked closer. He left everything in your name. Property, savings, investments, all under your control when you turn 18. And nothing for me. Not even a thank you. Danielle stepped forward. That's because he didn't trust you, Brian. He knew what kind of man you were. Brian ignored her. Mark was confused. He was on meds. You can't trust everything he recorded or wrote. I just think we should revisit some of the decisions he made. With a lawyer, Jason stared at him. You mean, change the will? Brian smiled again. Only if it's the smart thing to do. Jason shook his head. No. Brian's smile dropped. His face hardened. Don't be stupid, Jason. You're just a kid. You don't know what you're doing. Danielle stepped between them. Get out. Brian leaned in close. You'll regret this, he said to Jason. Then he turned and walked out, slamming the door behind him. The room was silent. Jason looked at his mom. Why would he care so much about the will? Danielle bit her lip. Because he's in debt. Mark told me Brian was gambling. He was trying to convince Mark to put him in charge of your college fund. Mark said no. That's when Brian started showing up more, trying to act like he cared. Jason's hands were shaking. He tried to steal from us. Danielle nodded. Yes. That night, Jason couldn't sleep. He felt like everything was falling apart. The truth about his birth, the fight with Brian, his mum's lies. It was too much. He texted his best friend, Lena. You up? She replied right away. Yeah. You okay? Number, can we talk? Come over. He walked to Lena's house. She met him at the door and hugged him. He didn't even know how to explain everything, but he tried. About the flash drive, the adoption, the will, Brian. Lena listened quietly, her face serious. That's a lot, she said when he finished. But your dad loved you. That part's real. And Brian, he sounds like a snake. Jason nodded. I think he's planning something bad. Do you have proof? Jason pulled out his phone. I recorded him earlier. When he talked about changing the will, Lena's eyes widened. That's good. Keep it safe. If he tries anything, you have this. They sat quietly for a while. Then Lena said, you could go see a lawyer. They'd help you protect your dad's will. Jason hadn't thought of that. But now, he realized he couldn't just sit and wait. He had to do something. The next day, Jason skipped school again and went to the lawyer's office where his dad used to go. He showed them the recording and the will his dad left behind. The lawyer looked over everything carefully. You did the right thing coming here, she said. Your father's wishes were clear. But if someone tries to challenge the will, you'll need to be ready. Keep everything. Every message. Every recording. Ikenna didn't sleep that night. His mind was busy, and his heart was heavy. But something inside him had changed. He was no longer afraid. He knew he had to fight, even if he was alone. He couldn't let his father's land be stolen, and he couldn't allow people to keep mocking him without knowing the truth. The next morning, he went to the city. He didn't tell Adais. He didn't tell anyone. He took the first bus and went straight to the office of the lawyer who had helped him register his company years ago. The man's name was Mr. Benson, old, sharp, and honest. Ikenna told him everything. I need your help, Ikenna said. They're trying to steal my land. Mr. Benson looked through the documents Ikenna brought. He read the fake sale agreement and compared it with the real land documents. This is serious, Mr. Benson said. These signatures don't match. The witness name is fake, and the buyer's signature has no legal stamp. Can we stop them? Ikenna asked. If we move quickly, yes. We'll file a land dispute case. That will block any development until the court decides. Ikenna nodded. Let's do it. 2 days later, Mr. Benson filed the case. A court notice was sent to the council, the police, and to Emeka. The shops on the land received letters that no changes should be made until the case was heard. It was the first real win Ikenna had in weeks, but the biggest moment was still to come. A town meeting was called the following Saturday. It was held at the community centre. Everyone was there. Business owners, council members, elders, and even the local news crew. Word had spread that a land dispute had come up and people were curious. Some were there to support Emeka. Others just wanted drama. Ikenna arrived early. He wore a clean shirt and trousers. His hands were still rough from work, but his face was calm. Adais sat beside him. She still looked worried, but proud. When Emeka entered, he walked with confidence. He wore a dark suit and sunglasses. He smiled and greeted people like a politician. Behind him were 2 men in council uniforms, people who had likely helped him in the land deal. The head of the council stood and spoke. Today, we are here to discuss the land at Ankwo Road. There is a serious dispute. 2 people claim ownership. We must hear both sides. Emeka went first. He stood before the crowd and smiled. Ladies and gentlemen, he began, I bought this land fair and square. I have the documents. I saw that it was being wasted by someone who didn't know its value. I made a deal, and I paid a good amount. I am here to help this town grow. My company plans to build a shopping complex that will bring jobs and growth. This is about progress. Some people clapped. Others looked unsure. Then it was Ikenna's turn. He walked slowly to the front and took a deep breath. My name is Ikenna, he began. Most of you know me as the boy who sells fruits. You pass me every day. Some of you greet me, some of you ignore me, and some of you laugh. He paused and looked at the crowd. They were silent. For years I've been quiet. I've lived a simple life. But today, I want to tell you the truth. He pulled out a folder and showed the real land papers. This land was left to me by my father. I never sold it. I built every shop on it with my own money. I used the rent to feed my sister and send her to school. He opened another file. Years ago, I registered a company, Ikenna Holdings. All the rent payments go into that account. I kept it quiet because I didn't want attention. I just wanted to build something quietly. But now, someone is trying to steal it. He turned to Amika. You came to me with fake documents. You threatened me. You lied to people and said I sold the land. But I didn't. He then looked at the crowd again. I have proof. This is the report from the lawyer who helped me register the land. This is the expert report showing that the signature on Amika's paper is fake. And this, he held up another page, is a bank statement showing I never received any payment from him. The room was quiet. Then Mr. Benson, the lawyer, stood up. Everything Ikenna is saying is true. I've been his lawyer for 5 years. The documents used by Amika are fake. If the council continues to support this, they may be charged with helping a land fraud. Gasps filled the room. One of the councilmen beside Amika shifted uncomfortably. Another one whispered something and left the room. Amika's smile disappeared. The head of the council cleared his throat. These are serious claims. We must investigate further. But the people were already murmuring. An elder in the crowd stood up. We know this boy, he said, pointing at Ikenna. We watched him grow up. He's been working quietly for years. Why would he fake anything? And Amika, why didn't you bring your lawyer? Others began to speak. He's been honest since school days. Ikenna helped my son get a shop. He didn't even ask for bribe. In the weeks that followed, everything started to change. Uncle Brian didn't come around anymore. After Jason's lawyer filed the complaint and sent the recordings to the police, Brian went quiet. The lawyer said he was now being watched closely. He could still try to go to court, but after the things he said on tape, it would be hard for him to win. The truth was on Jason's side. So was the law. For the first time in months, Jason felt like he could breathe again. The fear, the confusion, the anger, they were still there, but they didn't control him anymore. He had stood up for himself, for his dad, and for his mum. He had faced the worst and didn't break. Danielle started to change too. She began cooking again. She asked Jason about school, about his day, about how he was feeling. It wasn't perfect, but it was better. One night, she knocked on his bedroom door and asked if they could talk. I know I messed up, she said softly, sitting on the edge of his bed. I thought I was doing the right thing by keeping quiet about your birth, but I should have told you. I just didn't want you to feel different or unloved. Jason nodded slowly. I don't feel different. I just feel like I've been living with a missing piece. But I don't blame you. I just needed to know the truth. Danielle reached into her purse and pulled out a small box. There's something else, she said. I found this in your dad's things. He was going to give it to you on your graduation day. Jason opened the box. Inside was a small gold chain with a tiny chess piece charm. The king. There was also a note. To my son, Jason. You were always stronger than you knew. Keep leading with your heart. You'll always be my king. Tears filled Jason's eyes. He didn't say anything, but he held the chain tightly in his hand. Danielle pulled him into a hug, and for the first time in a long while, they both cried together. At school, Jason began paying more attention in class. He started joining things again, little by little. He joined the school's chess club, not because he wanted to win, but because it reminded him of his dad. Playing chess made him feel close to him, like he could still hear his voice in his mind, guiding his next move. He also told Lena everything, every final detail. She was proud of him. You could have stayed quiet. You could have let Brian walk over you, but you didn't. You chose to fight. Jason smiled. I had help, Lena grinned. That's what friends are for. One weekend, Jason got an idea. He asked the community center near his neighborhood if he could volunteer to teach chess to kids. They said yes. Every Saturday, he brought out the old board and taught small groups of children how to play. Most of them didn't care about strategy or rules. They just liked the stories Jason told, how each piece had a role, a purpose, how the king, though slow and quiet, was the one everyone fought to protect. Sometimes, he saw parts of himself in those kids. Some were shy, some were angry, some just needed someone to listen. And Jason listened. Teaching gave him peace. It gave him purpose. It was a small thing, but it helped him heal. At home, he started fixing things that had been broken for months. The dripping sink, the loose shelf. He didn't always know how, but he figured it out. His dad had taught him how to learn. That was enough. One night, He and Danielle sat on the porch together, watching the sun go down. The sky was orange and pink, the air warm. "I'm proud of you," she said quietly. Jason nodded. "I think Dad would be too." "He would," she said. "More than you know." Jason looked out at the sky. For the first time, he didn't feel like something was missing. He still missed his dad. He always would. But now, he carried him in his heart, in his choices, his courage, his kindness. He had faced betrayal, loss, secrets, and fear. But now he was standing tall, not because life was easy, but because he didn't run away from the hard parts. Jason had taken back his life, and even though the pain wasn't completely gone, he had found something stronger than pain. He had found peace. One year later, on the anniversary of his dad's death, Jason walked to the park with the old wooden chessboard under his arm. The same park where he had once stood face to face with Uncle Brian. The air was cool, and the sky was clear. He found a quiet bench under a big tree and set the board on the table in front of him. Slowly, he placed each piece on the board, taking his time. His hands moved with care, like he was setting up something sacred. Once the board was ready, he pulled a small voice recorder from his jacket. He pressed play. It was the last voicemail his dad had ever left him, one Jason had saved, but never listened to until now. "Hey buddy, just wanted to say I'm proud of you. I don't say it enough, but you've always been the best part of my life. No matter what happens, keep being you. Keep asking questions. Keep being brave. I love you, son." Jason closed his eyes, letting the words wash over him. His chest ached, but he smiled. He picked up the white pawn and placed it forward, the first move of the game. Then he whispered, "Your move, Dad." He sat there in silence, watching the pieces, feeling the wind brush across his face. He wasn't waiting for someone to sit across from him. He was just honoring a memory, keeping a promise, and holding on to the love that never left him. And in that quiet moment, Jason didn't feel lost anymore. He felt home,